Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models. Welcome to issue 5 of Build Your Own R2-D2 from Fanhome. Now, Fanhome have supplied me this kit, so just so everything is clear, I'm not paying for this, they're providing it very kindly, and I do very much appreciate that they reached out to me and asked me if I'd like to build it for them. So yes, there we go. Now, this is issue 5, we're starting on one of the big important impressive elements of the droid build, the head. This is the main plate that everything sort of attaches to at the top of the head. We've got frameworks and joints and a lot of screws. This is very strange, they seem to have supplied a load of screws. We're not going to be using all of these this time, but they seem to be sending out a shipment of screws. There you go, that will do you for the next few issues. So it's one way of doing it. I do have a box that I should be putting them in and keeping them safe. So let's have a look. We're continuing in the magazine looking at the filming of R2-D2, part 2 of that, which obviously in the desert environment, it couldn't have been much fun. Apart from, you know, being trapped in a metal suit, it would have been uncomfortable and difficult terrain and everything else. It's almost like, how can we make this more difficult to film? Let's do it in a desert. Yeah, there we go. So yes, safety in the edit, apparently. 3 editors in the first Star Wars film. So yeah, interesting. Obviously multiple droids for different shots and different angles, and obviously 3 legs and 2 legs, and yeah, it all works well. Then we're talking about behind the magic of recreating Tarkin, obviously for Rogue One, because unfortunately, him being dead and all, it made it difficult to film. Yep, interesting stuff. More things about the new films, BB-8 and D-O. D-O would be an interesting build. I don't know that it's possible. There is Bandai do a model kit in half scale of BB-8, which I was considering building a while back, but I'm reconsidering it again. I might see if I can track one of those down, because that would go quite well with R2, obviously being the same scale. So yes, more things about D-O and the Sith dagger. Rotary bearings, right, this is another one of the, we're supplying you a part, so we're going to tell you about it a little bit. Bearings obviously help things when parts have to move, so because the head is going to be rotating backwards and forwards quite a lot, it would grind and nasty things would happen, so there's a ball race in there. Bearing development in marine chronometers, obviously. Lots of bearings in those, although not so many, not ball bearings in those. Yeah. Right, yeah, ball bearing design, there we go. It's basically 2 tubes with some balls in the middle that allow it to rotate freely, which is quite cool. So yes, we've got the dome frame, the bearing retainer, bearing, dome top plate, lots of screws, and some nuts. Right, so relatively quick but quite important section this time. We're starting the chassis for R2's head. So we need, first of all, these 3 parts. The main metal plate, obviously the ball race, and the retaining, bearing retainer, they call it, and the shorter of the silver screws. This is interesting. They're not naming the screws as they have in other builds. The X-Wing call them like XW01 screws and things. In other builds, they have just named them as to the sizes. This is why I had a ruler ready to measure them up in case they say. But they didn't on this. They just say the shorter of the 2. Which is descriptive enough, because there's obviously longer and shorter of black, those and the nuts, but might be more difficult as more of them come around. We'll see how they're going to do it. It'd be interesting. So this is going up that way. Obviously, we see where it's going to go. The ball race itself doesn't have an up or a down. It works exactly the same either way up. So that will pop into there. This will go over the top. And you guessed it, the 2 screws that were mentioned earlier, we're going to use to put it in place. Now, I am using my own screwdriver for this purely because it's better than the one they supplied. The one they supplied does the job, but it's not great. It's not an ideal fit into all of the screws, and it just feels a little bit clunky and horrible. So I've gone on and used my own screwdriver, which I picked up for this very thing. So these can tighten up. Again, don't put one in and tighten it up, because it might not line up quite right. It's always good to get them both in before you go back and tighten them up. So that's that in there, screwed together. Now we need the next bit, which is the more interesting part of the build. We get a plastic framework for the head, because the dome itself is metal. So we get the plastic framework for this. Now this will be going on there. Which way round? That's interesting. It's got a 1 there. Let's have a look. Turn it over, and there's an arrow. Where's the arrow? I can't see an arrow. Oh, there's an arrow on that side. There we go. So yes, there is an arrow there, and there is indeed an arrow on the plastic part there, and on the metal part there. So they go together just like that. There are one little pin that locates into the centre there. So that's that, like that so far. Then we need to use the nuts. Now this is the tricky part. The nut will actually locate into there, but will obviously fall out. So put a finger over that, turn it over, and then we're using the long silver screw to go through there. Make sure you get the right one, the one with the nut in it, not the other one that hasn't got a nut in it, because otherwise you'll be doing it up for ages and it won't do up. So I've not tightened that completely, although it can't really go anywhere. So it's always a good idea to do them one at a time. The second one drops in there, and another screw. We'll go into there. Now, that's the second one in there, so I can tighten these up now. Just to make sure it's not going anywhere. So that is the head assembly complete. Not actually complete, but complete as of now. And it does indeed look like it does in the picture, that way up, or indeed that way up. So that's it for the build this week. The screws, I have one more issue to do. I'm going to leave the screws out in case I need them for that. But after that, I shall be putting them away safely in a pot that's got individual compartments for each type. So that's that. Nothing on the back, as ever, with this build. So that was issue 5. If you do like the build, leave a comment below. Let me know if you've got any hints, suggestions, observations, complaints, anything you like. That's what the comment section's for. Leave a comment. I'll see you soon for issue 6. So thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.